Let's dye some yarn today. I've had this kit now. I think I bought it on a Black Friday sale. And when these first came out, sometime over a year ago, they really intrigued me. I was like, those are so neat. I would love to at least experiment with the idea. But to be honest, the colorways that they had didn't really appeal to me. But then I started looking and I see that they, even though it's just kind of a muted green, a muted pink, and a kind of lavenderish, you can actually make them much bolder and brighter. So I thought I'd give it a shot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up, and we've got the three sort of packets and their powder. It is a RIT dyeing kit. Now I purchased the one with the fisherman's wool. If I really had thought through this, I would have gotten the cotton one because I'd be much more likely to use that, but that's okay. I mean, this is just an experiment. Anyway, and my dog is nudging the camera, so I apologize in advance for the hey, silly. So the kit is fisherman's wool. It is a partnership between RIT and Lion Brand, and you can still purchase these on the Lion Brand website, and I'll make sure to link that in the notes below. So this is the fisherman's wool. It comes with 3 different dye packets. The petal pink. There's actually 2 different colorways that you can purchase, and this is the one that I picked. So 2 different types of yarn, and each of those has 2 different types of colorways. So you have 4 choices overall, I think, if that's correct. This is petal pink, and then we have purple, and then we have Kelly green. And so you get the 3 colors. Now the box says that there is enough of this to do 10 hanks, but they only give you 1 hank. And since this is just sort of an experiment, I'm okay. I'm not gonna like go out and buy more so that I can dye more of it all at once. So then you get the undyed yarn. Oops, almost dropped that. And this is 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 205 yards, 100% pure virgin wool, and it is in a worsted weight medium 4. So it is your very classic fisherman's wool, so it's a little more on the itchy side. So it might be interesting to see what I end up making out of it. Maybe I'll make like a bag or something. Who knows? Because I don't like fisherman's wool against my skin personally. We'll see what happens. This is just more an experiment to see if I like dyeing than anything else. And then, of course, you get the instructions. And the instructions come in French, which I am not, and English. Now, when I first got this, I actually watched a couple of videos on this whole process, just so I had a little bit of an understanding. And several months have passed, so yeah, I don't remember much of what I saw in those. So let's go ahead and check out the instructions. And you open it up, it gives you, on the inside, it gives you the prepare the yarn, how to do an ombre dip, preparing your dye baths, how if you're going to do a variegated or a speckled. So there's 3 different ways you can do it. You can do it ombre, which basically is if you want one color darker on the top and then kind of progressively lighter as you go. Or you can do variegated, which is kind of just whatever comes up all over. Or you can do speckled, which is, just kind of speckles of color throughout. So it gives you the instructions on doing any of those. It also gives you some tips on preparing the dye bath. And then on the other side, it gives you the additional supplies, which is going to be very important. Some precautions. first aid, of course, and then what to do after dyeing, and some more tips. So I'm going to assemble all of the additional supplies and read through some of the tips, and then we will get started. Okay, you need a wire rack. This might be overkill, but it's this or something that's really small. And I figured since this had kind of square, it wasn't just straight, it might be better overall. So, we'll see. And one more thing that I am going to use, because I know that I am very messy when it comes to things like this. So, as much as I have the best intention of not getting stuff all over myself, yeah, it doesn't quite happen. It does call for a kettle. I don't own a kettle. So we are just going to use a pot with my stove to heat water. And the other thing I'm going to do is remove my watch because, again, I know I'm going to get dye all over that. So I'm just going to put that in my pocket for now. All right, now I'm going to read through these tips. Heat opens the fibers in the yarn to get to dye, ensuring you get long-lasting fiber colors. For added heat, place damp dye yarn in a microwave and oven set container for the microwave plus heat to 1 minute. Ooh, one thing I do think about, if I'm going to microwave this, actually, yeah, I better take this off. This does not say it's microwave safe. So, all right. Untwist the hank into a circle. Okay, there are currently, it says, to avoid tangling, use scrap yarn to secure 4 loose ties. There are 2 ties. I'm going to go grab a couple more pieces just to be safe. All right. That one's really long. Pre-soak yarn in hot water with 2 tablespoons of vinegar for 30 minutes. Okay. So, next step is to get some really hot water. And I don't think this is going to be big enough. So, let's get a bigger pan and boil some hot water. So one tip while that's filling would be to get your water boiling as you sort of gather up all of the other ingredients that you're going to be needing. Okay, it does not say that it has to be boiling, but we certainly want to be close to that point and have something that's pretty hot. So if I lay this in here, my goal is to kind of have this not bunched up at all and just kind of spread out. I think I'm going to do the variegated for this particular purpose. And what it says is to use the rack to place, actually to place it once it's soaked. So I'm kind of looking ahead here as I'm letting this water heat up. Place the damp, untwisted yarn hank on a wire rack over a plastic container to catch all the drips. Well, I can guarantee this is probably not going to be big enough to catch all those drips. Unless I do this outside, which might not actually be a bad thing. Pour dyes over the hank randomly, allowing colors to overlap and bleed into one another. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of thinking while this water's boiling, and we will get back to you when we're ready for the next step. Okay, so our water is almost to the boiling point. I think I'm going to soak it in the glass just because I'm a little bit concerned. Except this doesn't fit in my sink. I'm a little concerned that that plastic is not going to hold up. So I'm going to pour it in here. And as the instructions said, then we have to add some vinegar as well. So 2 tablespoons of vinegar. It does not say how much actual hot water. Now, since this is really hot, I'm going to take my tongs, kind of push this down, see if we can't get it to absorb some of this. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see if you can see that. It's not going down at the moment. Maybe if I... Yeah, I almost wonder. Maybe I'll put it back in the pan here, because that might be good enough. I did say it was messy, right? That actually is going to work a lot better, because now it's all in there. Smaller space. Okay. And it is supposed to soak in there for 30 minutes. Okay, timer set for 30 minutes. Now, let me see. I certainly could flip this upside down like that. My biggest fear is making a mess. I really don't want to make a mess. That would work. But I think I'm going to do this outside once I kind of put it on there. Because the video I watched, they literally just put the yarn on top of the mesh and then pour it over. So there's a really good chance that liquid is going to fall on either side. So once we get to that point, I will move us outside. Fortunately, it's cold out, but it's not so cold that we can't be outside to do this. So I'm going to do that part outside. Okay, so we have about 15 minutes left on the soak. I've moved some of the things that I'm going to need outside. I have upgraded the size of my jars because I realized as I was looking at these that each of them calls for 4 cups of water, the colorways. Now, that seems like a lot of water, but I can't really cut it down either. I mean, it's like 3/16 teaspoon. I can't, yeah, math not my thing. So how much is 3/16 of a teaspoon? That's like, seriously, I got to figure out 3/16. Okay, well, I don't have a 3/16 of a teaspoon. I have, which would, wait, two, math. Okay, I have half a teaspoon. Maths. Let's see what I got here. I do have an eighth. So 2 of these would be 2/16. No, 1 of these would be 2/16. And then I just need a smidge more than that. Very scientific, right? So I am going to get, where's my other jar? Guess I only got 2 out. I am going to get the dye in here. So I'm going to do Funky Fuchsia. I really probably should have gloves on. I'm going to go get my gloves. I hate wearing them. Okay, these are kind of like surgical gloves. They work a little bit better for me than kitchen gloves, which are way too big. They're still not ideal because they're just huge. But I guess better safe than sorry. All right, let's just cut a smidge of this corner off. And let's see how we do here. Ooh. Okay. I'll just add a little extra. And then pinch that closed and put it aside. So that's all. Oh, that's all I needed for the Funky Fuchsia. Now I also need that much 3/16 for the Purple Passion. Okay, that started going out fast, so we'll work with that. Okay, so that's all I need for there. Now purple, I don't need, I still need that much of the purple. Let me check my water. Okay. It's only supposed to be about 200 degrees, so there's a slight boil there, so I just turned it down a tad. I turned it off. And we have 9 minutes. Couldn't see with the light. 9 minutes left on that soak, so there we go. There's the purple. And then 1/32 of a teaspoon. Are you freaking kidding me? Of 1/32. I mean, that's like a couple of grains. So I'm just going to put you know what? It's just all, yeah. Experimenting and having fun, right? Okay, so the purple one has all the coloring. Now we just need to find the green box. There it is. And green needs 3/4 of a teaspoon. of the green. I was prepared for messy. Okay, 3/4 of a teaspoon. So if I have, do I have a 1/4 teaspoon in here somewhere? I'm sure I do. Just a matter of finding it. Teaspoon. Maybe this one. 1/2 teaspoon. That is a 1/4 teaspoon. Woohoo! So I need 3 of these. 1, 2, and 3. Doesn't have to be scientific. I mean, you know, if I were like some indie dyer and I needed to sort of repeat the pattern, for sure. But that is not me. Okay. Then I am going to need, wait, I thought I had to add vinegar into this dye. Wearing gloves, add 2 teaspoons of powdered dye to your jar. Or follow the color formula. Add 1 teaspoon of vinegar to the jar. And then fill with 3 to 4 cups of very hot water, just below boiling, around 200 degrees. All right, what? 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of vinegar. Okay. To each of them. It's going to be hard to be precise because this thing is heavy. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Whew. Heavy. And I think that's still, I'm going to take the temperature on that because I think it's still almost boiling there. No, we are not. We are slowing down at 170. Okay, so I'll give it just a little bit more heat since that's still quite a ways. Shouldn't take much. Our soak is down to 4 minutes. I'm going to run the yarn out to where I'm going to do the bath because otherwise everything's going to happen all at once. I'll be right back. Okay, the last step for the dye baths, the dyes, is to put the hot water in there. So I'm going to run the camera outside so that I can do that a little bit more quickly once it's at that hot temperature. Watch out, Riz. Okay. So, hi, Riz. Hopefully you can see me. So now what we're going to do is take this out. Oop, and I already got some dye on there. That's okay. That's okay. This is not a perfect process, right? I don't remember if this said to wring it out or not, but I vaguely remember seeing something that said to wring it out. Somebody's back there and they have some animals in their container. Hey, Breeze. Hi. What's that? Use what? Oh, no, thanks. Yeah, I wish I could have timer trying to get this done. It's hot water, so. Only when you live in the country will somebody drive up and try and give you some soya steaks. Okay, so now the idea here is to just sort of pour this. Oh, this jar's hot. Oof, very hot on the fingies. I'm gonna flip it over so that I get the other side too. Oh, looks like we got a good. All right. So now I'm gonna do the pink. This is not gonna be as dark as I was hoping for. I definitely smell something burning. Okay. Oh, the green's quite bright. Might be my plastic that's burning. Oh, that's more green. I don't really want more green. There's plenty of green in there. Definitely don't think I dyed those pinks and purples quite bright enough, especially compared to that green. I'm just kind of going through here. Adding some color here and there. Definitely have way more green than I would like. So I'm adding extra of the purple and the pink. All right, I'm out of purple. This one definitely needs more over here. And I'm out of pink. Okay. That? I guess it wasn't that. I think it was just maybe my gloves. I'm not sure. Anyway. So I'm going to let that drip a little bit. And go back inside and double check what my instructions were. You know what? Now that I'm kind of looking at this, I'm going to add just a little bit more green. In a couple of these spots. That should be okay. Oh, that's why I brought this out. Now I have this so that I can help set it a little bit because it says heat's good for it. So we're going to drop it in here. Again, my colors are not anywhere near as vibrant. You know what I think I'm going to do? Because we're just experimenting here. Move this over. And I don't know, I might regret this. Oh, that's going to turn a muddy, ugly color, isn't it? I really wanted a dark, bright, vivid colors. That's not going to help it at all. I don't think squeezing it out did any good. Okay. We're going to put it in the glass. And then we're going to take it inside and we're going to do some heat on it. So let's get that going. Oh. And then we'll clean up. Okay. Oof. So that part of the process is done. And then what it says to help set it: allow yarn to sit and absorb dye for 30 minutes. Heat helps. So cover the container with plastic wrap. I'm going to heat it in the microwave for 2 to 3 minutes. I could do this in the oven. I could do this in the oven, and then I could use foil. Okay, so that is in the microwave for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to set the timer for 30 minutes. And then we're going to go out and clean up. Okay, the timer went off, and that means that it has been 30 minutes. I am mostly cleaned up, but clearly this is a messy project. So be prepared for that. I believe the next step, wearing gloves. I have slightly purple fingers. They're actually slightly red and purple because I do believe that what I smelled burning might have been the plastic on my gloves, because they're a little tender from the hot jars. So don't be me. Yeah. Wearing gloves, rinse yarn in cold water until the water runs clear. Gently rinse out excess water. Wash in cold water with mild detergent. Hang to dry. All right, so we're going to move over to the sink. Okay, so here is a wet towel and some dirty towel cloths. First impression, not really happy with it. I might not had to have worried about what I was going to make with it because it's kind of hideous in my opinion. All right, so let's wash it out with cold water until it runs clear. Okay. Actually, while that's sort of starting to do that, I'm going to move a couple of these pots out of the way. There's not a lot of color in this already in the water. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, if you like lighter colors, it's, I guess, maybe not bad. It gives me the vibe that I was totally not going for, and I was hoping. The reason that you probably can't hear me when that's running. The coloring on this is what I was afraid of. The reason that I didn't buy the box in the first place is I didn't want this really muted coloring. I wanted something that was much more vibrant, and it looked like I was going to be able to attain that. I'm going to keep rinsing this. I think the color is just falling even more out of it. But I got to be careful here because otherwise it is starting to get a little bit tangly. I'll keep rinsing and we'll see. Okay, so that's pretty clear. The next step is to gently wring out excess water and then wash in cold water with a mild detergent. Okay, so I'm going to get my bucket back out here because my bucket is my hand wash bucket. Now, if I were really impressed with this yarn, I might use my special wool wash. Since right now, I'm like, yeah, this is so far from being something that I really want to keep at this point in time. I'm just using some basic, I actually use dish soap. I don't know if that's like perfectly okay. It's just Dawn dish soap. So it's what I use. Works fine. Might not be the best for your yarn overall, but I'm not that worried about it at this point. So we'll wash that up with that. This is a very time-consuming, multi-step process. I have to check my video, but I think I started this probably, well, it's been at least an hour and a half, probably closer to 2 hours at this point. And I'm not going to go really detailed on washing this again because I'm not real happy with it. So rinse out all the soapy suds. There was still a little color in the yarn, but that's okay. Okay, so here's what we have. It's very mottled to me. Whew, sun's going behind the clouds. The last step is just to hang to dry. I will do that, and And then I suppose I will wind it into a cake just to see what it looks like. But if you have done this process and have gotten more vibrant colors using these, I mean, you know, certainly at this point in time, my result, would I be interested in becoming an indie dyer or even dyeing for my own sort of satisfaction? It's a lot of work. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I would want to go through a massive process of learning and experimenting. I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I mean, because I love color and I love yarn, and the idea of making my own yarns with color is very intriguing to me. Being able to use my own bases and then making whatever colorways I want, that's very exciting to me. But it is definitely a very time consuming and messy process. And I'd have to do a lot of learning, a lot more learning. And I think I would want a better setup, something that would work. But like even these, I mean, yeah, not thrilled with this result at all. So, but if you have tips on how to use these RIT dyes, because I know they sell the bases and I have plenty of the dye left. If you have tips on how to get more vibrant colors using these, would it work if, for example, I did one color, let it really absorb and dry, and then came back and did a different color? I'm not sure. I think the heat would maybe release that one. So, you know, I see the videos when the indie dyers do these, and in the videos, you know, they have the pot and they layer the colors, you know, like top, middle, bottom. So maybe that's the way to do it, but I guess you have to have like the right amount of thickness of the water so that they don't all just immediately bleed together. I don't know how that works. Yeah, maybe I'll do a little bit more homework. This, in the meantime, I'm going to go hang it up, let it dry, and I'll show you the result when it's all dried and caked up. Well, let's wrap this up. I finally finished the dye job, not the one on my hair, the one on the yarn, and got it all washed up, got it all wound up, and I wanted to give you my overall thoughts as well as, well, just kind of my overall thoughts. So let's take a look first. And I apologize because I know that colors on cameras and TVs and all that kind of stuff don't always do everything justice. They're not necessarily true, but here is the result. Now you can see that there are definitely some pinks and greens and purples in there. And as I've sat with it, so my first impression was this is just hideous. It on the hank, when it was still on the hank, it looked like, well, and it still kind of does. It looks like it has been through the wash many times, and it's just faded beyond all recognition, so you can barely see the colors left. I still think overall that is the case. To me, there's just not enough color saturation in this for my taste. Now, for some of you, you might think this is an absolutely lovely spring, light, airy kind of colorway. And if that's you, congratulations. For me, it's just not. I like deeper, saturated, rich color tones, and this just didn't cut it for me. So, let's talk about why I think that might be and
just whether or not I would actually do this project over again. First of all, from what I know about dye setting and the dye process, you need to leave the dye. So I did, just kind of to recap, I did the variegated concept. And with that concept, you kind of just pour the dye over the yarn, and that's as much sort of soaking in as it gets. That's based on following the instructions. And I think that is why it didn't get any more saturated than it is. Because when you just pour it over it and then it kind of drips into a pan in the bottom, there's not enough time for that dye to soak into the fiber. So I really truly believe that that process is why this did not saturate more. I'm going to be totally transparent. I know nothing really about dye processing other than what I've kind of picked up here and there on videos. This is just my theory. I think the yarn has to sit in the dye bath longer if it's going to really get a lot of that color in it. And maybe the proportion of water to dye needs to be smaller. So they wanted me to do 2 cups of water for the amount of dye powder I put in there. And maybe that needs to be closer to like 1 cup for that amount, or even less. I don't know, but this just didn't get the rich saturated colors that I was going for. Overall, the process was pretty time consuming. I expected that. Pretty messy. I expected that. And not that challenging. I'm not sure if I expected that. I mean, it was a pretty easy process. As long as you follow the instructions, everything's pretty well spelled out. I did watch a video on how to do it before I even began. Which I think gave me a few pointers here and there. And just, I'm a very visual person, so watching the video as opposed to just sort of reading the instructions was really helpful. Would I do it again? I think that's the question. You know, now that I've sort of, like, when I first finished it up, I was like, yeah, probably not. But now, I've got some juices flowing, some creativity going, and I'm like, well, what if I did this? And what if I did that? And you never know. I might just actually try it again. You can buy the undyed hanks of yarn in either the fisherman's wool or the cotton. And of course, you can buy, undyed hanks on We Crochet as well. So, of all kinds of different makeups, although I don't know if like other types of wool would work as well with this dye. Because there are different types of dye. So this is just sort of a fun, let's see what I think kind of experiment. It's not, hey, this is a serious dyeing process. And I'm sure if any of you are professional dyers out there, you would look at this and say, oh, please don't do that. But it's just a fun experiment. I am not going to keep this hank of yarn. I don't know whether I will just donate it, most likely. But first of all, I don't like the fisherman's wool. I made a mistake when I bought the fisherman's wool over the cotton, because fisherman's wool to me versus a merino wool is just too scratchy, and I don't like to even work with it. So I won't be keeping this, but I'm not sure 100% what I'm going to actually do with it. So that was just an interesting process. I hope you enjoyed this video. I like to do just different fun things and have fun with it. So there you go. Enjoy.